Welcome to Uncompromised. It's the podcast where we talk about regenerative agriculture and the economics of farming and how we can uncompromise the industry and the food that we eat. Today we're going to get into what happened on the farm this past week, and then we're going to talk about how we specifically use regenerative farming practices on our farm. But before we do, consider liking this video and subscribing to this channel. We're on a mission to restore the soil on our Ohio Christmas tree farm by transitioning to fully regenerative farming practices. We're also bringing chestnuts back to Ohio, and we're developing a business model that will one day allow our farm to become profitable in an era where the economics of farming are questionable at best. Is any of this possible? Do you want to find out? If so, I think you're in the right place. So get subscribed, learn with us, and be a part of this journey that we're on. So with that, I'm Kyle, and I'm here with Kevin and my dad, Scott, and this is Tom, the barn cat. As per usual, we always start off by talking about what we did this past week. So do you guys want to get into that? I haven't really, I work a day job, so I've been out of communication for pretty much the whole week. So I have no idea what's been going on other than I assume regular farm chores, but what was the big highlight items for the week?
Well, I think we tore apart. So we've got a break right now between the mowing and all that kind of good stuff, and so we were doing some splitting of wood. So we decided this week. Last week we did a big pile out back. This week we decided to get out here and to clean up where we had some wood that's been there for years. And so that took most of the week to do all that cleanup and get to the point where we're now ready to continue with the splitting of the wood.
Yeah, it was more there than I thought for sure. And it was a lot rougher than I thought. But it took 2 tractors, 4.5 hours?
Yeah, 4 or 5 hours. Yeah.
To move all the wood that was pretty much junk. There was a handful that's still good that we can split, but yeah, that was the wood splitting, and stacking.
And stacking, right.
Stacked
do a lot of stacking.
Yep. And then
Were you able to get any of, because we have all those piles out there in our other field, so were you able to get
pile done?
But you didn't get any further?
No further out there because we needed to really get this in order. So this is now all cleaned up. And we have a relatively small pile that we need to split and stack.
Right.
And then we're ready to go back out there. So I counted this as one big project too. So we got the first project, or first pile, second pile. Now we got 4 more piles to deal with. Right. So we should be in good shape there.
Well, the first pile was the smallest pile, and it was about between 2 and 3 cords probably.
Yeah.
So we probably have another 10 to 12 out there.
Yeah, probably so.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a good amount of work.
Yeah.
Have you thought about what you're going to do with all that wood?
No, we haven't. We've got
you
plenty
get a
of it.
cord. You get a cord. Cord.
Yeah.
It's more reason for me to build that traditional sauna from our
Right.
backyard.
That is exactly how I'm feeling about it. Or you could make yourself a wood-burning hot tub.
Mm-hmm. That'd be nice.
That'd be super nice. Use a water trough.
Oh, yeah.
One of the metal ones.
Yeah.
So I think other things that we did this week was mowing the dandelions.
Mm-hmm.
So dandelion stems are up, and so Trudy was out there every day so far, just mowing away.
Yeah.
So we've got she did fields. We've got 6 fields, and so she did what we call 2A and B, and then 3. So she's in 3 now. I did 6, and then we're gonna do 5, meet in the middle, so to speak. So I guess the other thing was my mower broke down.
Yeah.
So we've got 3 John Deere F735s. They're 60-inch commercial diesel mowers, and they're all 1998s, exactly the same year, exactly the same model. And so we have 3 of them because we wanted to, since they're out of production, we wanted to make sure that we had spares in case we needed parts. We've been able to keep them all running, But my mower, which is the number 2 mower, seems to be the most problematic. And it's, once again, it's ready to go back in the shop. It just quit on me, and I can't figure out why. I did figure out, so there was 2 things. It quit, the blades quit on me, which I think might be a clutch problem with the blades, and then the mower quit on me. Well, I figured out what that was, and I got that fixed.
Electrical?
Yeah, that was an electrical problem. It just, a 25 amp fuse blew.
Okay.
I put a new 25 amp fuse in there, and it works.
We
So
should've checked
that's
that
why I
out, too.
moved it. I know,
Man,
because it took us like an hour to bring that thing
it's
in.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
You could drag in a 17-foot, or not a 17, a 14-foot Christmas tree on a sled by yourself
Faster than
we were
Okay, so
moving
it
on that
broke
tractor.
down way out in
about
the back of the
farthest you can
field.
go.
Right.
Field
And then,
6
so how
at the
did you
very end.
how did you haul it back?
So we brought out the RTV 900. So it's a Kubota RTV 900, which is kind of a 4-wheel dump bed recreational terrain vehicle. Took that out there, hooked a strap to it. Kevin got on the mower. I got on the RTV, and we pulled it in, but you could only go, and I mean a fraction of a trot. I mean, it was or not even walking, super slow walking, because it's just the way it's designed.
The mower.
It does it. Both wheels will turn at the same time. You have something back there that you can use to put it in the transportation mode, but you can only go so fast.
It seems flawed.
It does.
Yeah.
I've never had success with that.
Yeah. So even
and-
at a fraction mile per hour, you see the tires, they'll rotate and then they'll go.
Yeah, and they'll catch, and one will want to spin opposite the other, and the whole thing. So it was a bit of a mess. But yeah, if I had just checked the fuse,
But you didn't have a trailer for it, so you had to.
yeah, we had to pull it in. But we got it in, and I looked at it today when I finally had some time, and wasn't under stress, so to speak, and
Right.
and figured out what it was.
So are you using you're using the 3rd mower now?
Yeah, so I'm using what I call number 1, which is our oldest mower. They're all the same age, but the one we've had the longest, and the one that I use for the yard. So I'm using that, and then Trudy uses number 3.
That's the one that has the highest hours, right?
That has the lowest hours.
That has the
So
lowest.
the one she has the lowest hours. The one I have now, number 1, has the highest hours.
Yeah.
20. It's at 2,500 hours.
Okay, that's still pretty low
No. For a diesel engine, anything over 2,000, yeah, you're running into the far end of the life expectancy of it.
though. Okay.
Now, I change the oil every 50 hours.
Yeah.
So, and religiously do that. And so it's easy because it's a multiples of 50. And so I know to change the oil and do that. And that keeps them, I think that keeps them going. Do all the necessary maintenance and stuff that needs to be done. So that helps.
Yeah.
But sometimes things like this is out of my knowledge base. And so I have to have somebody come out and take a look at it.
And
Or actually they take it in and take a look at it.
yeah. Most of the time we don't have the free time to sit and wrench on it anyway.
Right.
We try and figure out the issue and
Right.
yeah.
That's a common theme on our farm, but I mean any farm where like your plans go out the window and then you have to quickly adapt on the spot to get it done, because that's happened a lot.
Absolutely. And so that's why we have redundancies
Right.
in some of the equipment we have, mowers in particular, because we are completely mechanical mowing.
Yeah.
We don't, as we talked about before, we don't use any pesticides or anything like that. So we're dependent on those mowers. So I can't afford to let those things or have a problem not having mowers that we need. So we got backup after backup after backup on that, to include finishing deck. Even the way we used to do it when we first moved here was I put the Ford 8N out there with the bush hog, and we used the bush hog out here to keep that thing clean.
That was a lot easier when the trees were smaller and you
Oh,
were
yeah.
trying to fit through things.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what we did. So we've come a long way. That's a whole nother probably podcast, and just the mower evolution until we figured out how to actually attack the trees the best with a mower. There's just a whole sequence of events we went through to get to that point.
Have you thought about or Yeah, have you thought about what you would do if your current John Deere mowers break down and because you can't really replace them if they don't make them anymore?
Yeah, I mean, there are companies that specialize in Christmas tree operations.
Man, those things are
But exactly,
expensive.
they're very expensive. So another thing, like if you think about like this mower, and I don't know if it was designed purposely with this offset for the kinds of things that we're doing, but I would check into like vineyards that have small, narrow,
Yeah.
passages just like us between their vines, and what do they use?
Yeah.
And I think that would be helpful. But this has been a super good mower for us. But you're right. I mean, they're 1998, so they're almost 30 years old. Here in a couple years, they'll be 30 years old. So we need to be thinking about that for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I've done some looking online to see if there's anything out there, but
Few and far between for the
Few.
kinds of things
man,
that we need. Because that offset prevents you from getting up underneath the tree. Because if you just have a mower, you can't get up underneath that tree. I mean, you're hugging it already, and with the offset, you're hugging it. So anything that doesn't have an offset is going to be a real problem for
how
us.
much do you know how many inches offset that is?
It's 18.
18 inches.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. So what does that mean? As we're talking about this, it's a 60-inch deck, but the mower sits where you sit is slightly off center. And so you have an additional 18 inches on your left side that allows you to get up underneath the trees that you don't have on the right side, but yet it's still a 60-inch deck.
Right.
So it is a little weird that way, but it was just a wonderful find. I just lucked out. And again, it was eBay was where I found this thing, but I was looking for a mower that we could use, and this thing popped up, and I thought, whoa, that offset, that makes sense. I can use that.
Right.
Turned out that was one of the best investments we made with the farm. Yeah, was getting the right mower that allows us to do the kinds of things that we need to do.
What do you think that they designed? What was that originally designed for? Why do they have an offset?
I would imagine it's designed for yards like ours. Like we have 56 mature trees in our yard proper. And so using that thing to go around those trees is so easy. And I think that's probably what it was designed for, was to be able to get in and like if you're following the contour of like I don't know, a little flower garden, that kind of thing. It's so easy to do.
Right. I'm kind of envious the more I think about it.
Oh yeah, it's a smart design. I wish others would have picked that up. I don't know why they didn't.
Right. Yeah, because I have the 0-turn grasshopper, and I have a 61-inch deck,
Yeah.
but I can't mow up to something.
Yep.
Because even
This
if
thing
I
you
put
can't.
the edge of that mowing deck on it, the blades are still 3 to 4 inches on the inside of that
Oh
guard.
yeah. It's only a half-inch clearance on the inside, so it's a good design. So I love it.
I guess go back real quick to something that the log splitting.
Yeah.
Is we put a good amount of hours on that log splitter.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
Oh yeah, you like it?
I'm ready for you to come out and help us try it, you know?
We got to break you in, Kyle. Get you out there.
I mean, I was
I know
excited to
you.
try it until you guys started talking about it.
Yeah.
That's okay. We were excited until we started doing it for hours.
Yeah,
then it
it's
wears
still.
you down.
Is
it's
it
still-
physically tiring, or is it
Yeah.
just monotonous?
Oh, it's not monotonous. No, you don't have time to
Yeah.
get bored
So
with it.
like
that's for
lifting
sure.
up the logs and
Yeah, that gets a bit tiring.
Yeah.
It wears on your back if you're older, that kind of thing. But I mean, we keep each other at a pace where you're gonna get a good workout
Yeah.
out there doing that. So I think that's good.
Yeah, it's quick.
is it more physically demanding than like when we were trimming up the fence line? Because
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
that was like one of our more physically demanding.
Yeah.
Chores.
Using the chipper out there, because that
Yeah.
chipper could, as fast as we could feed it, it was chipping it up.
Right.
That's an awesome machine. But yeah. This is probably same kind of level of workout.
Real quick, if you're a coffee drinker and you're looking for a solid brand that supports regenerative farmers, check out 7 Weeks Coffee. It's what we use in our coffee and chestnut hut because they're faith-based, they have a great mission, and their Dominican blend is sourced from regenerative farms. They don't sponsor us, but because we use them in our coffee hut, we have an affiliate link that we can share with you guys. So if you use our discount code ADVENT, then you'll get 10% off of your order, or you can also use the link that's in the description below. It's a great way to support our channel and our farm because you get a discount on great coffee and we get a kickback, so it's a win-win.
So the other thing we need to mention, I think, for the coffee hut is what we started today, which was we finally have some muffins that are available, a food item that we can serve up. But what's exciting about that is that we're able to pull in the Crafty Village Bake Shop, which is a local vendor that we have supporting the farm here. They have been helping us the past couple years. We've been featuring their goodies, their bakery kinds of things during the Christmas tree selling season. So I called them up earlier this week, said, hey, would you be interested in making some organic muffins for us? And man, they were all over it.
Right.
And made some beautiful muffins. So we've got blueberry and we've got cinnamon oatmeal this time. First time we've had them, so we've got those now available for people if they'd like to have something to munch on while they're drinking their coffee. But that's exciting because it's a new menu item, and I think it's just scratching an itch for people who are looking for something like coffee and something to eat with it. And I think it's a great combination. What I am excited about is the strawberry lemon that they're going to do, at some point when we're ready to order that. But they'll do seasonal things, and so with the summer coming and all that kind of good stuff, I can't wait to try that one.
I wish they would have never said anything about it.
Yeah, no,
Because I haven't stopped thinking about it.
Yeah. So we're excited to have that available to us. But it's been a relatively good week, I think, for the hut.
Yeah.
So yeah, all well there.
Did you guys move meat birds? I heard something about that.
Yeah, we moved
Did that 2 nights ago.
2 nights ago.
Yeah.
Easiest move we will ever do.
Are they pretty docile? The
They just
Cornish cross?
they assume you have food at all times, so they just walk up to you and you pick them up and you put them in the cage, and then the next one comes up thinking you have food. You just pick it up and put it in the cage.
Yeah, they were super easy, and they went right in. So we've got them. We actually, because we know we're only going to have them for a couple of weeks before we're ready to process them, we've got them in our yard. So they're out on one side of the house. And so they're getting lots of sunshine.
Yep.
They're getting, there's going to be some rain, we're hoping, here shortly. And then they've got a nice area for them to go and stay out of the weather. So it's pretty nice for them at this point.
Yeah, so just for clarification, this is our first time, well, no, this is our second test batch of meat birds, and they're Cornish cross, and when we go all in on this, we intend to have them in a Joel Salatin style chicken tractor out in one of our fields. We'll put them out in the fields, probably the Christmas tree fields, and eventually the field 7 where the chestnuts are. But because this is a really small test batch, I'm guessing you guys, it was just easier for you to just keep them out in the yard where the tractor was stored, and we're just gonna, for a few weeks, keep them out there.
Yeah, because we're talking six birds.
Yeah.
As opposed to like 25 that you would normally have in that chicken tractor. But it is in the chicken tractor. Everything is exactly as it would be, other than the fact that we didn't take the time to take that chicken tractor all the way out.
Yeah.
The other night, because it was, I don't know, 8 o'clock when we finally got to that, because we had to pull in. That was the night we had to pull in the mower.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that's the only reason. We could have easily, if we had more time, taken them out and put them with the Christmas trees. So it's only going to be 3-4 weeks, or not even that long, 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
Before we're ready to process them, because they're good size already. They're surprised how big they were. Yeah, they're plump.
You need to pick them up, man.
Yeah, I haven't seen them in a while.
It's
Oh, you'd be surprised. They have really grown a lot. So
they're
looking forward to it. I think that's going to
so
be delicious.
so dense.
But one of the things that we'll need to kind of figure out is the order process so that we can get that going. And I look forward to that, because what we'd like for folks to do is to pre-order these things, and that'll help us know how many birds we need to get prepared for the next go around.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we also bought a scalder. It's still in the mail, we haven't gotten it yet, but
Yeah,
we
haven't got it yet.
purchased a scalder online to accommodate our defeatherer that we haven't used yet, but we also bought that, I think, a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Christmas gift.
Yeah, it was
Christmas
2
before last.
Right.
Right.
2 years ago. We haven't used it yet. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm excited because that will make the process a lot easier now that we finally have an actual scalder and an actual defeatherer, because
Right.
those were the two biggest, I think, hiccups in the process, other than actually eviscerating.
Yeah, I mean, we rented one the last time, and
Well,
it was a homemade.
Oh yeah, we
Device.
rented
Yeah.
both, but the scalder wasn't like an actual scalder. It was
No.
like a rinky-dink homemade thing, but it worked
Yeah.
pretty well.
It worked okay. We had trouble controlling the temperature
Right.
on it, and it turned out that's the key. Is you get that temperature exactly where you need it, because if
Very
you don't,
precise.
the feathers don't come off, and it's just a real mess.
Or,
So we've
yeah. Or you're ripping the skin.
or you're ripping the skin. You're right.
Yeah.
So hopefully this will be a better thing for us. So I think that's only 2.5 weeks away.
Right.
So we get the scalder in, and then we'll be starting to get ready for that.
Which shouldn't take long. I would.
Oh yeah, we'll
I
do
would
Saturday
here
here.
next week.
Yeah, should be.
Yeah, I've ordered from that Stromberger website before, and it was very quick.
Good.
Okay.
It wasn't. I mean, it wasn't it was like I bought something small. It wasn't a big deal, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good.
When you were talking about moving the meat birds and how often, I don't think I'm gonna have to move a full width. Or a full length of the chicken tractor, because they're primarily surrounding the feed pan.
Yeah.
They don't venture out a whole lot.
We're not getting into the
They
grass.
are, but not to the extent of when we had 25, 30 birds.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I just don't want to create a big
Right.
hole or.
yeah, you have the space. You might as well just move it another few feet.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But
another
I
couple
heard it.
feet.
But you don't need to, because
Right.
I see what you're saying.
But the reason I'm thinking only a couple feet is because that moves that feed pan up, and their manure is highly dense
Around the feed pan. Got
Yes.
it. Got it. Well, I hope they're feeding on other things besides the non-GMO feed,
Yeah.
but because that's what they're out there to do, is to enjoy that green grass and get as much of that beta carotene as they can inside them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, one other thing that happened is our YouTube channel reached 500 subscribers, so that was cool.
Nice. Good for you. Good for you.
I'm gonna make us a wood plaque.
There you go.
Yeah,
No, write it in Sharpie.
yeah.
Right in Sharpie.
We can hang it in the background somewhere.
Well,
I'll do
for
it
you,
in
Kyle.
silver,
That's good to hear.
metallic Sharpie,
Yeah.
so it stands out.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, it's been, I mean, it's taken like 2 years just to get to 500, but it's supposed to, they say it's exponentially faster at a certain point, but yeah, we still have a long ways to go.
Yeah. That's all right.
Joey, please stop. So since you brought up YouTube, do we want to kind of talk about why we haven't actually put out any farm videos, tour videos, and stuff like that recently? And the primary focus has been the podcast.
Yeah, I did put out the tour of this farm,
Right.
I think 2 weeks ago, but yeah, I mean, it's mostly because of our works, or how busy we are, like all of us, including me, I'm the one that has to do the whole video process, so recording and editing and production and everything like that. Since, I mean, I work a full-time job, plus the farm, plus the channel, and then you guys are always busy doing something on the farm. And so the podcast is, I think, easier time-wise, or it's not easier, but it's there's less time involved for me to edit because the editing process is what is the most time consuming. And so it allows us to in-depth tell everything that I think I wanted to tell in those shorter, like 15-minute videos, but haven't been able to because of how long it takes me to edit those. So the podcast is a good way to elaborate on a lot of things and talk to hopefully guests that can come on and get some more knowledge and share. I mean, it's a two-way street, so sharing knowledge both ways. I think a podcast would be good for that. And at the same time, it allows me to be able to post videos on a regular schedule that I can keep up with, given how much my time is limited right now.
Right. Yeah.
So that's the compromise,
Your
despite the channel's name.
your reasoning was exactly what I was thinking it was going to be.
Yeah.
And, you know, when the day comes where you're able to quit your job and be full-time here on the farm and be supported by the farm, we'll start ramping up the more videos, more farm tours, more like
Right.
eventually it'll be a podcast and video.
That's the plan. I mean, because there's a lot of, especially farm tours. Like we talk about this all the time, how we want to go to other farms in the area and just learn from them and like see their operation. Because I'm really interested. I know you're super interested in learning other farms' operations and just getting to see that and sharing that on YouTube too.
Well, I'm excited about the fact that I think our next video along those lines is going to be a farm, a regenerative farm that does Galloway beef, and they're called the farm is called EAT for life, and the EAT is an acronym. I don't recall what the acronym is, but they're out of Yorkshire, Ohio, and then right next to them, part of the same farm operation is their dairy operation, where we get our raw milk and where we get the lightly pasteurized milk that we can offer in our coffee hut. And so we're going to do a tour there of all of that to get a chance to get all that captured. And so I look forward to that. I think that's going to be a wonderful ad. And ultimately, it's kind of, I don't know about the dairy so much, but the beef side is where we want to go.
Yeah.
Because they are regenerative, organic in terms of what they, the feed they provide and all that kind of good stuff. The same operation, the same mindset that we're trying to do, but they're a good 10, 15 years ahead of us.
Right.
And so that I think can be very helpful. So they're willing to help us understand what they're doing, and we want to learn as much as we can.
Did you say that, does the Eat for Life operation, do they do beef?
Yes. Yeah, so they have Galloway, belted Galloways actually. That's a breed. It's a steer that they use for their meat. And
Do you know if they sell direct to consumer?
They do. Yeah. They have a direct market activity. You can purchase online and you can pick up at certain locations, or you could come right to the store and pick up there.
So they're doing a lot, something very similar to what we were going to do.
Very similar. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool to see.
So they're a little storefront, which we've been into. You haven't, have you? You haven't been out there
at all.
No, I have no. Yeah.
Yeah. So their storefront it's right on their farm, just a small little thing. So I think it's good to see that and just give us a sense. But yeah, they're 15 years ahead of us. So and I think they're doing well. I don't know what their financial situation is, but it appears that they look like they're doing pretty good. So I think that's wonderful. And I like the fact that they have a dairy operation that's kind of separate. Dan's, I don't know what their relationship is, must be brother-in-law, something like that. But Scott and Debbie Smith is the dairy part of this. And that's where we get our milk from, for the coffee hut and the raw milk that we get. But our herd share comes from Dan. We worked with Dan on the herd share. Yeah. Boy. Yeah, and I guess people may not know what a herd share is and what that's even all about, but in order to purchase raw milk, you can't just go to a store and buy raw milk. What is raw milk? It's milk that's not been pasteurized and not been homogenized. So pasteurized means that it's been heated to, I may have the numbers wrong, 165 degrees for at least 4 or 5 minutes. Or low heat pasteurization is 145 degrees for at least 20 to 30 minutes. Give me some leeway in that, but I think that's about where it is.
Sounds about right.
That's pasteurization. Homogenation is breaking the cream down so that the cream doesn't separate, and you can actually pull the cream out and reduce the percentage to 2% or whole milk, which is basically 4%, versus the cream that we get, which is anywhere from 18 to 25%.
Yeah.
And the reason I know that is because I let my milk sit. I take it out of their gallon plastic jugs and put them in 2 different half-gallon glass jugs, frankly, just to minimize the plastic microplastics that we're consuming. But when you do that, you can see the separation, and it's a good 25% or less, maybe 18 to 25% is cream. And so you just shake that up, and that's what you drink. So that's called raw milk.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, we have to
Well, in the state
get
of
a
Ohio.
herd share in the state of Ohio. So we actually have to own the herd. And so we purchase a
portion of it.
a portion of a herd that allows us to be able to get the milk. And it's wonderful. The taste of raw milk is so different than milk that you buy at the store. So different and so healthy. I think healthy for us, but
No, it is. It has like the, because of all that, it doesn't have all the processing involved in the heating and stuff. It has all the natural enzymes in it that help with digestion, because that's why, I mean, the enzymes tend to be from current like research, and that's come out. They've found that the enzymes is really what causes the lactose intolerance for a lot of people.
Oh, it is the lack of enzymes?
The lack of it, yeah.
The lack of it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So
And there's good bacteria in it too.
Well,
That
and
is
that's-
very useful for you.
yeah, I mean, the whole pasteurization process is designed to get rid of anything that could potentially be a bad enzyme. But
Well, no, it gets rid of all of them
Right.
indiscriminately, and
Well,
then
that's what I'm
it
getting
naturally
at. You're
involves.
not just killing the bad, no different than herbicides, pesticides.
Yeah.
When we do this, we don't just kill the bad, we kill the good as well.
Right.
Yeah, because they're designed to just kill everything. We talked about regenerative agriculture, and we explained what that was in the previous episode. And we did explain a little bit about how we use it on our farm, but we didn't go into a lot of detail on that. And we skipped over a lot of aspects of how we use it on our farm. So I really wanted to dive into that a little bit more and to give us some more time to elaborate on that and how we use it specifically on our farm. And our operation is divided into 2 main parts, one being the Christmas trees, and then the other being the chestnut operation. And so I've come up with a not complete list, but just what came to mind in time for me to come up with an outline for this episode. And I have a few things listed under each of those categories. And so I thought we could start with the Christmas tree side of things and explain a few bullet points under that. So how we use regenerative farming within our Christmas tree operation, even though it's interconnected to the whole thing, but I'm sure that'll become clear as we dig into it a little bit more.
Yeah.
But one thing, there's a couple of things in the Christmas tree side of things that we've tried and they didn't necessarily work out, because I've said this before, but there's not really I haven't found a good blueprint on regeneratively run Christmas tree farms, or even like other examples. I know that they do exist, but there's no good guideline for us, since we're I think that's the reason why we have to experiment and try to figure it out ourselves.
Right.
There's a lot more information about like beef and cattle and chickens and stuff, which we've relied on pretty heavily. But when it comes to the Christmas tree side of things, we've run some experiments on it, and I think that's good to talk about, because there were 2 things I know that didn't really work out for us. One of them being the alley cropping in between the trees. We had one field out there that we set aside to plant some cover crop in between every other row. And I think the idea was to, by doing it in every other row, we still allow customers to go down the row that we didn't plant the cover crop on, and then they can then pick a tree on either side. And then the other row next to that will have tall cover crop, and that'll be doing the whole regenerative process. And then every once in a while, I think we would alternate them, maybe like mow them down and then alternate one.
Yeah, we wouldn't do the alternating, but
Well, we never got that far, but
Yeah.
we did that for 2 years, and you didn't really like the process because it wasn't doing a lot for weed suppression around the trees.
yeah, that's true. That's true. I think what would be helpful is maybe a quick recap so that people are reminded of what those principles are that we're looking for. And so I'll just list them real quick. So one is having holistic context, which is giving you the basic direction you're going. But then you've got, keep the soil covered was one principle. The second principle was maximize diversity of the plants that you're putting out there. Minimize disrupting the soil was the third one. The fourth one was maintain growing roots all the time. The fifth one was supporting livestock integration. And the sixth one was the whole idea of not using any pesticides, herbicides, or any fertilizers of any sort. Okay, so having kind of listed all those as the general guidelines that regenerating your soil is all about, the idea was, if we can, because as we talked last week, our Christmas tree operation is very much a monoculture. And what we have, and those are rows. Each tree is 6 foot apart, and every row is 8 feet wide. So we have basically a spacing of 6 by 8 for each of our trees. So going down the row, if you're going down the row, we've got grass in there. And so purposely, we planted grass in there. So grass only goes so deep. So you've got basically a monoculture of grass growing with a monoculture of trees and nothing else. So the idea was, like you were saying, Kyle.
Just to interject real
yeah.
quick, the grass is still technically a cover crop. The issue was that there wasn't enough diversity on that
there wasn't
field.
a variety there. The diversity wasn't there. Exactly. So when you think about the principles that we're using, everything was covered, which was really good. We haven't disrupted the soil, which was good, but we didn't have diversity, and we didn't have livestock in there, and so minimal livestock. We have a little bit of chickens, which we'll get to. So there were some pieces of the restoration process that was going on, but what we didn't have was an ability to have a variety of roots or plants in there that would allow us to be able to have various root structures that would pull nutrients up from the ground and then would do a better job of helping to retain water. So the idea was we would put a cover crop in between every other row. So here you had a row that had a cover crop going down the middle of it instead of grass. Then the next row had grass, just grass going down it. And then the next row after that had a row of cover crop. And so we were trying to think in it ahead. When we got to the Christmas tree season, we wanted to make sure that our customers weren't inhibited by going down those rows that had the cover crop. Now we would crimp them, and then we put in, so in around September timeframe, we went in, crimped the summer cover crop, planted the winter cover crop, and then it comes up about maybe 4 or 5 inches.
Right, but you're still walking through organic matter that's been crimped.
It's a little bit more difficult to walk through.
Right, and a tripping hazard and some other things.
So we didn't want the customers to have to do that, but yet we wanted to be able to get to every tree. So that's why we did the every other row approach. And it worked great. Summer cover crop went in, winter cover crop went in. We did that for actually 2.5 years. But what I found was when I was crimping and seeding, I had great difficulty turning. I could go down the row, but when I got to the end of the row, I had to do all kinds of finagling with the tractor and the implements and raising them way out and doing all kinds of crazy stuff just to turn the tractor. Well, in the process of doing that, I guess the needle that broke my haystack, if you will, or my back, if you will, was was when I knocked out 2 beautiful trees with the back end of my cedar. And I just couldn't help it, just wiped them right out. And so there just went a couple $100 worth of trees that, that if I hadn't been doing this, that wouldn't have hurt anything. Did it give me enough data to figure out if that approach works? I'd say yes. Did it make much difference? Not really. Not really, because it wasn't enough. It probably wasn't long enough either, and I get that. But we already had good organic matter. Yeah. The only thing we didn't have was diversity. Yeah. So, but your roots in your tree system are going deep enough that they're able to access, the kinds of nutrients that we're looking for. So, was the juice worth the squeeze, so to speak? I didn't think so. So I decided to not continue down that road. Yeah. Now, if we were to take a section of our farm and make it Christmas trees from the get-go, I would probably do that and just design that in such a way that I could turn my tractors, because I think that might be worthwhile if we did something like that. But right now, in a pre-established Christmas tree operation, didn't make sense to continue doing that.
So. Do you think that while one reason, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that you were having trouble turning is because you have the roller crimper on the front of the tractor and the seeder on the back of the tractor. If you separated that out, so you only had one implement at a time and you only did one process, so you did the termination and then you went back and did the seeding, you're reducing the length of your tractor and your implement. Do you think that would have helped you in terms of maneuverability?
Yeah, that's a great question. So fortunately, the way the tractor's set up, I have a front end loader on the front of it. I could lift that implement up over the fence. So there's a fence that's right in our way. I can lift, which is exactly what I did. I lifted that over the fence, which in effect eliminated that implement. Right. And so I had the front of the tractor right up against the fence. The back of the tractor was still in the trees. So wasn't able to make that turn. Now, frankly, we have plenty of other rows that have plenty of room that wouldn't be a problem. Yeah. But I did it long enough to get a sense of what it's doing for us and decided enough at that point.
Yeah. So another solution would be to remove the end rows or the end trees. Yep. To give you some more room, but then you're reducing your quantity,
right.
Your supply a little bit.
But it did give us an opportunity to at least try it. It can be done. It was easy to put down. It grew just fine. We crimped it just fine. As we were going down the rows, there was plenty of room. So no issues there. It was just making the turns. And so, I think we learned enough to feel comfortable that that's a workable solution. Do I recommend it to other Christmas tree farms? Not really, because I just don't know enough about what were the benefits that it actually provided the trees.
If you were talking to a new farmer who's laying out their fields for the first time, would you recommend it to them?
I would only because that's going to do a better job of regenerating that soil, which is going to make that ecosystem even better. Though, as we mentioned, many of the principles that we need are already in practice with the Christmas tree operation. Mm-hmm.
So,
not all of them though.
Right.
Did you have anything to add to that before I move on?
I mean, so we've kicked around the idea of doing a different alley crop, like asparagus, or even incorporating like wildflowers in between them and stuff like that.
Right.
Some different plant species that have a deeper taproot and, once again, more diversity.
Right.
We just haven't pulled the trigger and really done the research to figure out if the juice is worth the squeeze.
Right. Well, the big consideration there is you want to make sure, so one of the things on a Christmas tree farm that you've got to be very careful with is not putting too much growth underneath the tree, because what that does is that really inhibits the lower branches from developing fully. And I've been to many farms where their weed control process is not as stringent as ours. And there's an argument to say that maybe we're too controlling of our our grass and all that kind of good stuff. But what happens is the weeds undergrow, they grow up around the tree and they suppress the tree growth at the bottom. So it really has kind of an ugly bottom to it.
Yeah.
That would be my concern with putting in an alley crop of like wildflowers and stuff like that, because you have to control what's growing up underneath those trees. So if you have like clover and a variety of different plant species that don't grow very high, no problem. But if you have some stuff that's going to grow up through those trees, now you got a problem. You don't want to do that.
But that could
there's
also be where
balance.
the chickens come into play,
Absolutely.
because we found incredible success about where we introduced the chickens into the Christmas tree fields using our eggmobile,
Yeah, they do a phenomenal
and they
job.
dig around every single tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why did we do that? So again, the whole idea is to introduce livestock, if you will, into our operation to see if that will enhance the trees. And what we found, as you were just describing, those chickens really do a great job. And it's not just one or two. So we have a 300 square foot area that our chickens are in. These are our layers that they're in, that we move about every 3 to 4 days.
Right.
And so there's probably, what do you say, 8 rows. There may be about, I don't know, 100 trees in there, maybe a little bit more. But there's a lot of trees. The point is there's a lot of trees, and it's a big area that those 63 birds are in. And they get out there and they just really do a good job of cleaning out underneath the trees. Beautiful job. Nothing, we didn't even anticipate that, but that's what they're doing. They're providing fertilizer out there for us. They're eating bugs. They're eating the weeds. They're eating the grass. They're doing a great job, but without overdoing that. And so that's been a huge success.
Yeah.
I would recommend that in a heartbeat.
Yeah. So, I mean, and honestly, it wouldn't hurt to have another eggmobile.
Right.
To be able to start on one side of the farm and be able to cover the whole area.
Yeah. Well, last year when we did it, we covered probably half.
Yeah.
Half of this section back here. We didn't even touch that front section.
Right.
So yeah, we can go a long way. We have plenty of room for those things. But that ultimately, that's not where we want to have those. We want them to follow when the chestnuts are out there and we have cattle out there. We want the chickens to follow the cattle in our rotational grazing program, so that they can break up the manure and all that stuff and help get that nutrient back into the ground. That's the whole idea.
Right.
And hopefully over the years, we'll be able to scale up to where we can start building multiple eggmobiles and have them
Right.
going all at once in both operations,
Both
the chestnuts
operations,
and
that's right.
Christmas
Well,
trees.
and that's the plan this year, is to build the big eggmobile for all the layers, and then the layers that will replace the 3 old layers will be in the eggmobile. So we will have 2 eggmobiles rolling next summer.
Yeah, that would be nice. That would be nice. And then plus the chicken tractors,
Plus the chicken
which is where
tractors.
the meat birds are going to be.
Right.
Yeah. Good.
So that's slowly ramping up,
Yeah.
which is great to see.
And that's been I think that's been a real good for us. For the Christmas tree operation, is to have that additional blessing. And then, as we're out there mowing, you can see where the chicken tractor was, because the grass is so green.
You mean
and
from
growing so
last
well.
year?
From last year.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's just the fertilization that those birds add is amazing. Yeah. You wouldn't think it, but there's a lot there. And it seems like just the right amount. So we're getting good responses from that.
Yeah, I think we have a pretty good handle on what our rotational should be.
Yeah. And that rotation is every 3 to 4 days. So every Monday and Friday,
Correct.
we're taking that eggmobile and we're either moving it forward or we're taking the fence and moving it from one side of the eggmobile to the other side of the eggmobile. So we're going down a service road with the eggmobile, and then we put our fencing on one side for 3 days. Then we move the fencing to the other side for another 3 to 4 days. And then once that's done, then we move the whole thing forward, and then we do the same thing. And that keeps it going. And it covers all the trees in that area.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's been real good.
So, and another thing that shocked me this year, because I was worried about this as we put the new seedlings in and planted, is the chickens didn't go after them.
They didn't mess with them at all.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, so our seedlings we put out there only a week or two before we put them out there.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Going back to the experimental alley cropping feature, we have in our field 3, we have that one ever so slight hill where nothing grows.
Yes.
So we call it a hill, but it's pretty flat for a hill, but it's a spot where we don't really have enough topsoil for anything to grow substantially on that. And so we also experimented with using cover crop to, what? Is it the cat?
Yeah, as Tom's grooming himself and then hanging onto your arm
Yeah.
for balance.
I'm here for support.
Yeah.
So we used cover crop to, hopefully we planted it, we had leftover seed whenever we did the rotation on the field. And so we used that leftover seed to plant on that hill, thinking that we could maybe try to rebuild the soil. And I don't know where did you ever land on an opinion on that? Are you still doing that?
Yeah, so no, because that was all part of the where we were putting in the crop between the rows. But I think that's a solid plan, and I think but it's going to take years for us to regenerate that soil. But what's interesting is in the farm that we're on, and then again we're in Southwest Ohio, is supposedly, as I'm told, the glaciers came through. And when they did, they pulled topsoil off of certain spots and dumped it in other spots. And we've got some really nice areas that have a lot of deep soil. But then, like you're describing, we have 3 hills. Where our Christmas trees are, there are 3 small hills. And when we say hills, we're talking like a foot or 2 different than the other side.
Our farm is very flat, so relatively speaking, that's why we're calling them hills. But
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because a lot of farms are,
Yeah. It's maybe a 3-4 foot difference, something like that. Yeah. But what I've been told from the soil conservation people is that what's underneath those hills that we have is the limestone is much closer to the surface. And the way you can tell that is look at the soil. And it's got a bunch of rock in it and stuff like that, gravelly. It's much more gravelly than the rest of the stone. So all of your good nutritious soil is gone.
Yeah.
And the organic matter that was on top of it is gone from years and years of use over time. That's all eroded. So we're left with soil that just simply doesn't produce a tree. And so we've tried many, many times planting and replanting. We just got tired of planting in those areas, so we don't plant them at all. So the thought was that we would come in with this cover crop and see if we can regenerate that soil. But it's not big enough it's probably a 1/16 of an acre. It's really, those 3 areas are very small. So it's not worth our time or effort to try to put, the necessary seed and time to regenerate that soil. So that's why I quit doing that. But that was the idea.
Well, and another one of the key components is having the livestock involvement. And what we really would need is a larger livestock other than chickens on that soil.
Right.
To help
right.
regenerate it efficiently.
Yeah.
And there's no way to rotationally graze that small of an area.
Too small of an area. But I think the idea was good.
Yeah.
It's just in execution, it's a bit too small for making it cost effective and an efficient way to handle reestablishing that particular area.
Which maybe we can tackle that once we get a better handle on everything and learn more hands-on of these learn the principles more hands-on and learn how to involve animals more efficiently and everything like
Yeah,
that, maybe we can reattack it.
Sure. Right.
I think
Right.
it's not off the table. It's just
Well,
not worth it.
Yeah, we've also talked about like maybe there's some I don't remember the specifics, but we mentioned there was something we could build out there, like a. Do you
Well,
remember?
yeah, we talked about, so eventually we're going to need an area to milk the cattle if we don't do it out in the field and everything like that.
Oh, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah, to bring in, a mother who's having a calf or whatever. It'd be nice to have a building that's close to field 7 because we don't really have a way to bring it into this barn. So having a small barn in that area would be perfect.
Yeah. So
So
we could
it's-
repurpose it for infrastructure, I guess,
right.
maybe
It's an
out
ideal
later down the
spot for
line.
that.
It'd be a good use of that spot, I think.
Yeah.
I remember I learned at some point that another aspect of those glaciers in Ohio is that's the glaciers are also the reason why radon is such a problem specifically to the state of Ohio, because it's a state by state thing. Like Arizona, for example, doesn't have radon. I don't
Never
think.
heard about it until your
Yeah.
house.
That's one reason why I know, because I had to deal with the mitigation system in my basement. But it's directly because of the glaciers, and I guess like years of decomposition created certain gases or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Little fun fact. I think the last thing I have under the Christmas tree side of the operation is we've moved for, I think, other reasons. We ended up moving to hand drills when we plant the seedlings, and the way that plays into regenerative is we briefly mentioned this in the last one, where using the hand drills, they're 4-inch auger bits, and so we're disturbing the soil significantly less than when we were using the much larger auger that's on the dingo or the billy goat.
Right.
And so less soil disturbance during planting season is another aspect of regenerative
So
practices.
instead of 9 inches by 18 inches per tree, per Christmas tree.
Every 6 feet.
Yeah, so that's a lot. It's now 2 inches, about maybe 7 inches, 2 inches in diameter.
Yeah.
And about 7 inches deep. So minimal soil disruption. And then what you're putting in is a whole plug.
Right.
So that's really trying to help protect that soil integrity that we talked about last week. Yeah. That is so fragile and you need to protect.
Not to mention, it just happens to also make planting a lot easier and faster too. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Wear and tear on back.
Yeah.
Still don't know how you guys did it all those years and why you disliked yourself so much for so long.
Yeah. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
that's the
Dislike
only thing.
myself. Well, it took my oldest daughter, and she had to nudge pretty hard to get us to do something, because it was not sustainable the way we were operating. But you can look at our podcast, 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it goes into all of those details.
Thank you again, Nicole.
Yep.
So we have laying hens and we have broilers, and laying hens go in the eggmobile. Our broilers will go in chicken tractors. We have the eggmobile set up with portable mobile netting that's electrified that we currently have set out in the Christmas tree fields, and because we've stopped using chemicals on our trees, we then have to kind of find solutions to pests and weeds getting around the trees. So I know we've already mentioned it, but I wanted to cover the hens and the broiler side of things and how that interplays with the lack of chemicals on the farm, because the chickens will eat the grubs and the pests and clean up underneath all the trees, and then eat the grass and the weeds that come up, and they do a really good job of that.
Yep.
And then also the fertilizer is what helps put back nutrients into the soil, since we no longer use chemical or synthetic fertilizers too.
Yeah.
So that's another way to kind of interconnect everything. Everything works together as a system.
No.
Yeah, it's not a panacea for sure.
Mhm.
Does it help? Absolutely. And like you say, and it's helping on a number of fronts, because it's putting nutrients back into the soil. It's helping to control the pests. Not all of them, but it's helping to control some of them, helping to control some of the weeds, not all the weeds. Mechanical mowing is the primary thing, but it is very helpful.
Yeah.
And so all of that working together is more natural than what was happening in the past. And so I think that's part of the key.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, we already mentioned the eggmobile goes down the service rows in between the fields of Christmas trees with the netting around it to allow the layers to get out into the trees. The meat birds are out in the chicken tractors, which are on the main service rows,
Right.
because they do not fit down the rows between the Christmas trees.
Well, why don't you describe what is an eggmobile so people know what it is, what you made, and then describe what's a chicken tractor. We know what it is, but I don't know that the audience necessarily knows what those are.
All right. I'm going to do a very basic description here. It's a chicken coop. An eggmobile is a chicken coop on wheels that you can pull with. We use the RTV or my Polaris, and that's what we use to move that forward when we need to. But it allows food, water, shelter, and nesting boxes for the laying.
So it's fully enclosed.
Fully enclosed. It has slats in the flooring to allow that manure to get down to the soil, and it helps minimize.
So at night they're protected by the coop. They go inside.
Right.
During the day they roam outside of the coop and they roam into the fields, being controlled by the portable netting that surrounds them. That's electrified, which is also protecting them
from predators.
Right.
So, whereas the chicken tractor is a 2 foot high, 10 by 12
Foot
box.
Yep.
That has chicken wire around 3/4 of it on the sides, and then it has metal around it to protect it from predators and help keep them secure inside, and allows sufficient airflow through the chicken tractor. And
half of it is shaded at the top. The other half isn't.
Yep, half of it's shaded up at
And
top.
it's a 5-sided box that just lays on the ground, meaning that the floor is exposed, so they have access to that.
So they have access to
to the grass.
Yep, to that.
And the idea there is that every day that is moved 12 feet
Right.
forward.
Every
so they
day.
get fresh grass every day.
Yep.
That's the idea behind it. So from a predation point of view, the chicken tractor, which is 2 feet off the ground, 10 by 12, that's protecting above and to the sides.
Correct.
And so far we've been fortunate. We had what, once? Okay. Any issues?
Yep.
The eggmobile, which has, like I said, 300 square feet of room, more than that for those guys to run in. It's not protected from above. It's protected from the sides. But we've been very fortunate to not have any predation issues from the hawks that are all over the place around here.
All over the place. And so Miss Trudy was saying this the other day. She was about 2 sections away from the eggmobile, and she was watching a hawk slowly come closer and closer, and it swooped down about 12 feet above it, took off, and went to another field, which is just mind-blowing because that's prime pickings.
Prime pickings, but of course, when those guys see it, when those chickens see it, they're running underneath that chicken or eggmobile. But yeah, that helps, I think, to get a visual of what we're talking about when we say eggmobile and chicken tractor.
So, and if you want to see the eggmobile, there is a video on our channel where we walk through it. And then when I build the new one, we'll do a video on the build of the new one.
Yeah.
Because there were some issues
Yeah.
with my original design.
But the basic idea of the chicken tractor is right out of Joel Salatine's book. So
100%.
So we want to make sure that he gets all the credit for that chicken tractor because it's his design.
Yeah, it's a
as
Joel
far as I know.
Salatine polyface tractor design that he has in his books. He describes it in his books, and he also has a book that has all of his designs that we pulled from.
We've got that.
Yeah, step-by-step blueprints and
Yeah.
bill of materials, everything. What was the other chicken tractor? I forget what that one's called.
A John Sokovich style tractor.
Which I like that one a little bit more because it allows you to actually walk into it. Only because when you're trying to get meat birds out of the Joel Salestein one, you're low crawling through it. And
Yeah.
It's hard.
It's a lot harder.
There's pros and cons to each design, but fundamentally the Salestein style is more economical and much cheaper to build versus the Sokovich style one, which is a lot more expensive, heavier, and it doesn't fit nearly as many birds inside of it.
The square footage that they are exposed to per day.
It's probably better. That one's probably better for homesteads, I would think.
Probably.
Yeah. And then with the ones that we have, one person can move it, which makes it nice.
Yeah.
You know, if you're moving it every single day, and like for him, he operates, I don't know, 18, 20 of them,
Right.
all next to each other. You know, so that's a lot of work. Whereas we've got two, and we have one in operation right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, one of Salestein's books, I think it's Pasture Poultry Profits, explains that there are characteristics, there are personality traits that are different from laying hens versus broilers. So laying hens female chickens prefer to be out in the open and to roam and peck at bugs, and they prefer to actually get out there and walk around. Whereas male chickens, broilers, prefer to be enclosed and confined that's why the tractor is only 2 feet off of the ground, and the style is designed to mimic the preference of male chickens. So that's the reason why we have two completely different designs for the males and the females.
Yeah. So confined. That nerve, that strikes a nerve with me.
Negative connotation.
Yeah. Because when we say confined, we're not talking about 6 birds in a 19-inch by 22-inch.
Living on a sheet of paper.
Yeah, not even living on a sheet of paper. I mean, their feet are on chicken or some kind of mesh.
Oh, I meant a sheet of paper.
Oh, in terms of square foot, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little bit bigger than that, but that's not what we're talking about here. When we talk about confined space, it's 12 feet by 10 feet, so 120 square feet, if you will, for 25 birds.
Right.
There's plenty of room to roam and to get, fresh grass and sunshine and the whole thing.
Yeah, we should do a first-person view of us crawling in there to show you how much room they have, because they will run circles around you as you're crawling in there on your belly.
That's actually a great idea. Put a GoPro on your helmet and your helmet on your head or whatever. Get in there and do that.
See, what we should do is one with one of us on it, and then one with Miss Trudy, because Miss Trudy...
You put Reagan in there.
Yeah, Reagan, no.
No? Okay. Reagan's your daughter.
She'd be screaming. But Miss Trudy is so much better at catching the chickens.
Oh, yeah.
It's
lightning fast.
Yeah.
I don't know how she does it.
No, it's frustrating.
Yeah.
Honestly.
She's twice your age, and she's yeah. Oh, no.
Do you want to explain the regenerative aspects of Field 7? So we have, it's our chestnut plantation that we're in the process of restoring the soil through seasonal cover crops, and we're on the last cycle of that. So do you want to explain that briefly?
Yeah.
Versus planned practice.
Yeah. So when we talked last week, we mentioned that our primary story that we wanted to have in our chestnut field is chestnut trees.
Yeah.
And we have them on a 35-foot by 35-foot spacing. So when you do the math, that allows us on that 17 acres to put in 535 chestnut trees on that 35 by 35-foot spacing. And then what that will do, its purpose is to not only provide good forage for the livestock once we have the livestock in there, but it provides shade for them too. Cattle need shade, and but it is not it's what's called a partial shade tree, like a yellow locust. Light can get through it.
Yeah.
It doesn't completely cut off the sunlight. Very necessary for your cattle. So that's what that is. So what we did 2 years ago now was we purchased a number of chestnut seeds, primarily European, so Italian, which is supposedly the sweetest chestnuts, some French chestnuts, and some Spanish. And then I also purchased at that year some Chinese chestnuts. And then you had purchased about 10 American chestnuts, which are 15/16 American chestnut, 1/16 Chinese, which gives them enough of a boost to be able to not succumb to the fungus that's out there. Those are growing extremely well. So we decided to get these about 200 chestnuts, and we grew them from seed. And we described that last week and the week before, what we had done there. And then we put them, we then transferred them to a little pouch where they grew until the seedling was so big. And then we put them out in the field. And we did about 200 the first year. And then last year we had to replace the ones that died because many are going to die. And so about, 30% of them died off.
Yeah.
We replaced all those and added another 100 or so. About 100. This year, we're hoping to add yet another 100 or so, and we'll keep doing that every year until we get up to 535 trees. That covers the whole area, and so we're halfway there at this point. We've got half of the field covered with our tubes and our seedlings, and so this year we've got another. I'd say I was telling Kevin this the other day, of the 260-ish or so seeds that actually germinated, had a taproot that was growing. We've put them in the greenhouse, small 6x10 greenhouse. We've got about maybe half of them that have actually started shooting up a seedling, an actual seedling. About half, maybe a little bit less than half. So I'm thinking we're sitting at around 130 or so. So that's going to cover replacing a good 60, 70 trees that there are seeds that need to be replaced out there. And we'll probably add another 50, 60 new seedling positions out there this year, which will take us up to about 300 or so. So not as good. I think I pulled them out of cold storage, if you will, a little too early. I'm afraid I should have let them sit in cold storage to develop that white kind of taproot initial root that comes out of the seed a little bit more. So I mean, lesson learned. We don't know that, so do the best we can. But yeah, that's where we're
And
at.
so while those chestnuts are growing out in the field, for the last 3 years, we've been planting seasonal cover crop to restore the soil, because up until I think it was 2023, that field was a soy corn operation.
Yep.
So we have to rebuild the soil, and
Right.
while the chestnuts are developing and growing, we're doing the seasonal cover crop rotation.
Right.
And we did our final restorational seasonal mix that we planted and terminated this past spring. And so what you planted is a perennial mix that will just stay out there
Right.
for the foreseeable
Yeah,
future.
a perennial pasture mix.
What did I say?
Yeah, and that's, you said a perennial mix. So I just
Oh,
added,
okay.
I added the pasture to it because that's going to ultimately be our pasture.
Right. And
So yeah, that's the idea, is that's now in the ground. Once that starts coming up, then it'll perpetuate itself. And then we don't plan on putting cattle out there for another couple of years.
Right.
And that's to allow that pasture, the perennial pasture, to establish itself so that it's got a good growing pattern. So it'll be a good 5 years before we ever, from the time we stopped doing corn soybean until we actually put livestock out there. That's a good amount of time.
which is on they said 3 to 5 years is generally the time frame.
right.
So we're right in there.
Yep.
I'm glad you answered that because I was going to say people are going to want to know why we don't go ahead and put cattle out there.
Yeah, and that's the reason we want to get it established. The more we get it established, the higher quality pasture we're going to have, and we're going to be able to sustain the kind of animals we want out there. It's it's 17 acres.
Right.
Most dairy or cattle farms have much more than that.
Right.
So we got to maximize the value of that limited amount of acreage. And so in our minds, the best way to do that is get the greatest benefit from the soil that we can. Get that restored to the greatest degree we can so that we have the best pasture possible for those animals.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what we're shooting for.
Yeah. So, I mean, construction, whatever. The old phrase is you want something that's going to last, you want a strong foundation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Absolutely. Strong
that's-
foundation.
We're playing the long game.
Yep.
Because the ultimate goal,
That's a
which-
great point.
Yeah, we talked about it in our statement of purpose, basically, we want this to be a multi-generational farm that is
Right.
able to provide well into
Right.
the future.
Yep.
And it doesn't make sense to rush it.
Right.
So when we put the cattle out there, it will be followed by chickens. And once we basically have both of those out there, then I think we're going to be completing that regenerative system.
Right.
So the cows and the chickens serve very specific functions out there. It's very similar to what we've already talked about in the Christmas trees. It's just out in that field now with cattle involved. But the cattle is eating the grass that's out there, the cover crop, which is stimulating the new growth of that grass.
Correct.
Because it mimics the herds out in, out in the wild.
Right.
So we're going to be controlling this through a system of paddocks
Right.
that we're dividing the field using mobile electrified fencing that we can move around, so we can take it down, move the cattle to the next section, put it back up, and then they'll live in a how big is that? How big are the
About 1
sections?
acre.
So about
Yes.
1 acre
Right.
per how many heads? How many?
So don't know yet. It depends on how well the field is doing. But I imagine we're thinking between 8 and 10, probably head of cattle. It'll be an animal unit of about 10 animal units, which is basically 1,000 pounds of meat. So if you have big steers, there may be less number of them because they weigh over 1,000 pounds, or you have a calf steer or a calf cow operation going. But what you're talking about is rotational grazing. And so how does that mimic real life? How does that mimic what was going on during the prairies, when you had the wonderful buffalo and all that kind of good stuff out there? Is it's concentrating. So those herds were always concentrated because of predation from animals. Your whatever they had back then, that would wolves and would keep them tight.
Yep.
And then would keep them moving. So the key, and this was one of the things that Alan Savory figured out years and years ago, was this idea that we can mimic that by doing rotational grazing. So we compress, or we bring, instead of putting cattle out there, 10 head of cattle, and throwing them out on 17 acres and say, go take care of yourself, we're putting them into 1 acre, and we're moving them every day. That's the idea. And what they're doing is, in that one day, that 10 head of cattle, and I'll use that figure for right now, that 10 head of cattle will clip down, not consume completely, but clip down the tops of that grass. Instead of eating it all the way down to the nub, if you will, because that will then destroy the root system. So if they just cut off the top 3-4 inches or so, and they'll select what they want to eat, that kind of thing, and then the next day you're moving them to a new paddock, they will go automatically to that paddock because it smells so good and they want to get in there and get the good stuff. Then once we go through and we divide this 17 acres up into about 16 paddocks or so, that means every 16 days we'll come back to that one paddock that they were on before. And so what that does is that allows 16 days of regrowth.
Yeah.
And then that keeps that pasture in its prime condition.
Constantly.
Yes. So that 16 days is referred to as a rest period.
That's
in
right.
the holistic management book.
And you're not consuming it all the way down, to where you're really causing the pasture to suffer.
Right.
You want to get it down somewhat, and then because that stimulates the necessary sugars and activities going on in the root systems below to keep that soil prospering.
Yeah.
And so this whole idea of moving is like mimicking a compressed combined herd that is moving because of predation. You're mimicking that whole idea.
So, and there's a key thing that I want to point out here is we say move them every day, but that's not necessarily accurate because it's management. So that movement is based on moisture content and everything else like that. How well is that pasture mix regenerating?
Right.
So if we're in a drought, we may be moving them more often into smaller paddocks.
Correct.
And
Correct.
it's a constant adjustment and an ebb and flow.
Yeah.
It's not a one size fits all.
That's a great point. Yep.
Yeah. So it's constant micro adjustments, big adjustments, depending on what the situation.
There is a very
key is-
specific formula to follow to calculate this
There
for
is.
us, right?
There is,
Yeah.
which I've got, but the point that you're making is it's all about managing it
Right.
based on what the environment, what it's like today, what it's like tomorrow. If we're in a drought condition, if we're in too heavy rain condition, if we're in the middle of a heat season where they're not growing as much, or if we're in the spring where we're getting super growth, that kind of thing, all dictates when you're going to move that cattle. But the key is you're going to move the cattle.
Right.
And it's going to be on a frequent basis and in a small confined area. Absolutely.
Right.
Great point.
So how do you, is the formula in the book Holistic Management? How would someone go about finding the formula?
No, so
Where was that?
yeah, I listened to several. There's many ways of calculating it, and perhaps I need to. I'm not prepared at this point to discuss what all of those mechanisms
Oh yeah,
are.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to talk about what the formula is. I just want
Wasn't
to
it
guide
a
someone
Yout-
to
was
it.
a YouTube channel. It was the guy in Missouri.
Oh,
Brown?
No,
Judy, Greg Judy.
Greg
Greg
Judy.
Judy.
Greg Judy.
He's the one who talks about the formula.
Yeah. And so what I did was I listened to that video and I copied all of it down, and then I made a spreadsheet that allows you, and then I have inputs and outputs, and allows you to quickly calculate for that day what size paddock you ought to be using. Yeah, because it takes into account all kinds of different things. It's easy stuff. It's not a hard set of calculations, but it is out there, and I think you're right. It was Greg Judy in a video that he had on YouTube. So, but there's several. Like I'm reading a book right now that has another set of calculations that do the same thing. Talk about animal units and how much of forage that you actually have available to you that can be applied and all that kind of good stuff. So there's different ways of calculating it. The point is there is a way of calculating it.
Right.
And so from a management point of view, you can get some pretty good, accurate ways, repeatable ways of doing good management on your rotational grazing program.
The chickens that are in the tractors or the eggmobile will follow after the cattle once you move. So you move the cattle to the next paddock, and then the chickens will take over, and they'll start eating the flies and that are in the larvae that are in the manure and things like
Right.
that.
So they'll break it up. So just chickens naturally will get in there and take a cow patty and just break it all up. But what happens with a lot of cattle out there in the fields is they have fly problems. And so the chickens help control that, like Kyle, like you were just saying. It's eating that larvae, and it's taking care of a lot of that problem before it even develops,
Right.
which is the beautiful part of it. And so is it a one size fits all? Does it solve our fly problems? You know, we'll eventually have, it won't solve them, but it will help control them
Right.
in a big way.
Right.
And so that's part of it too.
One of the things that we'll have to figure out is how many birds is enough birds. What is our essentially our delay between cattle moving forward and chickens? How far behind do they need to be?
Right.
Where we hit that larva at the optimal time.
Yeah. And that's a good point, because it's not right after.
No.
It's about a day after, a day or two after.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So you gotta figure that timing out
Right.
as well.
So
It's all stuff we have yet to learn and have yet to make mistakes with.
that's where that's the thing. It's one of those conversations
Yeah. Because you know you will.
that's going to come down the road, and we're going to be like, we saw this coming and we still made that mistake. 100%.
Yeah. But we try to anticipate as much as we can and think through how we can mitigate it as best we can.
Right.
Yeah, and that holistic context aspect of it that's where that is really important. And that's already served us quite well just in the past couple of years.
Sure has.
For a number of reasons. We've used it for a couple of key decision points that we had to work on, and it allowed us to come to an unbiased, logical conclusion on whether or not we should move forward with something. The coffee hut was one example of that.
Right.
We ran that through part of the holistic context, and the Alan Savory version of it is there's a 7 checkpoints
Right.
that you can run things through in order to determine if it's something you should do or not. And so when we were talking about the chestnut hut, and that was something that we were debating on, we ran it through those 7 context checks, and we determined it probably was a good move for us to give it a shot.
Right. Yeah, the 7 context checks are pretty broad. You know, I mean, and so you've got to think through them carefully. But yeah, I think it's a good framework that helps us to make decisions, critical decisions like that, to make sure we stay on focus, stay headed in the direction we need to head, and not veer off. You know, mission creep affects all of us all the time. I deal with that constantly, and so this helps to control mission creep, if you will, which is a tendency to take on things that you shouldn't be taking on.
Right.
Well, kind of
I think
layman's term.
Biggest check in there, what question really is need versus want.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that is, boy, that one kicks us in the pants almost every time.
Well, I think I appreciate that it forces us to think about that.
Yeah.
Is this truly a need, or is it a want? And that has caused us to say no many times.
Yes, it has.
Yes, it has.
On some things we really, really wanted.
Yeah. So it's only effective if you use it.
Right.
and so that's been good for us.
Oh.
It's you said that it was very broad, but that's by design too, because you can apply it. I mean, in the book, it's applied to agricultural purposes, but it can also be applied to, office work or anything your personal life. It can be applied to a lot of different things.
And even in the book, they talk about that. This is intended to be broader than just environment or agriculture.
Sorry, Joey.
And me and Trudy have used it in that way too, making decisions about our home.
Yeah.
And some big, critical decisions that we need to make. We do rely on that. And so that's been helpful for us too.
Yeah, and we also went through like a phase after reading that where we had to analyze our farm in a way that we've never thought about it before, because part of the holistic management context is understanding the bitterness scale and like where your farm lies on that, like how bitter is your soil from what I remember. And then we kind of had to think of it from that perspective.
Yeah, I think instead of bitter, it's more...
Or brittle, I meant brittle, sorry.
Yeah.
I was
yeah.
thrown off. I was like, "Oh, I don't
Yeah,
know what."
how brittle your soil is.
Yeah, so there's a whole scale that they use, but
You're like holding back on that? Like just say brittle.
Can we make that into a short?
yeah,
Yeah, all right.
that was good. That was good.
Bitterness scale.
You were like
But the-
very,
No, you're stuck in the coffee mindset, man.
yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, but the whole idea there is to get an understanding of the environment that you're operating in and how much moisture do you get on a yearly basis. So the brittle scale is going from desert environment, which is a lot of the savannas and so forth.
Extremely brittle.
Yeah, very, very extremely brittle versus what we have, which is not. You know, we have lots of nice humidity and we're not as bad as the southeast, if you will, but we still have our fair share of humidity and all those kinds of things. So this is not considered a brittle environment.
No.
But that you got to factor that in when you're reading his book, because it covers the whole world.
Yeah, that plays into the formula of it all.
It does. Yeah.
What else? There was, yeah, we talked about the formula. Oh, it also helps us with the decision to. We were talking about potentially purchasing land that's right next to us that went up on the market, and that forced you to kind of review that formula and revise the plan a little bit for the cattle operation. I mean, it was another example of how that's been an important aspect of.
Well, and that's come up twice.
Yeah, that's come up twice. We've had that, but the second time is when it caused, I think, you to really think about the cattle operation.
Yeah. So let's play that out a little bit so that people better understand what you just said, and that is that initially, before we were thinking of cattle, I mean, we were been thinking about it the whole time, but before we were really thinking about it, we asked ourselves the question through the holistic check marks or questions, if you will: should we purchase land? And the answer came out no, based on what we looked at and just thinking through all those questions, didn't make sense to do that. When we started thinking then about cattle and doing all the research and understanding how much can 17 acres, how much can it sustain during the wintertime? You know, wintertime is the key point here. That's when it became apparent that we would have to downsize pretty significantly each year to make it through the winter with what we'll have out there. So we then asked ourselves the questions from the holistic management book about land, because the land literally right next to us is available right now for sale. And so, having had all of the math from Greg Judy that allowed us to calculate in sufficient detail and with a degree of accuracy that I felt was legit, we could calculate how much 17 acres would give us, and then if we were to buy a portion of that land, how much additional help would that provide during the wintertime? And that swayed that decision from a no to a yes. But the yes was based on if we can get this and this certain size, not the whole thing. And that's why we went ahead and went forward with with at least an offer. It was not accepted and all that kind of good stuff. Yeah, but still, the point is, based on that new information, we could then ask ourselves the question again. And so we don't get stuck. I don't think it's important to say that we don't get stuck in a decision that being, that's it. It's an end all kind of thing. If the circumstances around that changes, then we readjust the question.
Well, that, not only that, but also where we are in life,
Yeah.
because that made a big difference in that conversation as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So we've got to be aware of the fact that, our situations are going to change each year. And so don't be afraid to reattack if you need to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the lesson that I learned from all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
So how many things did I miss on this list? Can you think of any other ways that we use regenerative practices on our farm?
Is this a test?
Yes.
Yeah.
You failed.
Yeah. No, I can't think of anything more. I know that as we move forward and we start getting animals, you know, part of what we hope to be able to do is to let the animals sustain themselves. And so we want to make sure that we create an environment that is as healthy for them as possible, so they have the best life that they can. I know that sounds kind of trite, but yeah, they have the best environment that they can live in, all the way up until that one bad day that they have.
Right, which was, so that was part of the conversation when we were talking to Miss Trudy about this and everything like that, is, and people are going to eat and slaughter animals regardless of whether we do it or not.
Yeah.
What we can do is we can offer an environment and a situation where people not only get nutrient-dense food, good food, and everything like that, but where those animals also live a really good life up until that one bad day.
Right. But I guess where I was going with that was this whole idea of, we're not going to be using hormones, or using any kind of medication on these animals.
Right.
And by design, we want it to be organic to the greatest degree we possibly can. Is that naive? Could be, but many people do that and are successful with it. And so what we're trying to do is make sure that we have got the best environment for them. And so if we create a good environment, then the Lord will take care and balance all of these things, the parasites and the bugs and the diseases and those things. That'll all be balanced, because they're getting good nutrition, and that offsets the bad things that can cause, them to be weak and then become affected by disease and pests and those kinds of things.
Okay,
So that's ultimately where we're trying to go.
give us a hint, because I know that wasn't it.
Oh, I was joking. I don't have a list.
That's messed up.
I mean, I've checked all the boxes for what I wanted to talk about. I just don't know if there was anything else.
Nope, I think I'm good.
No. I mean, the only thing that I would add is there's a potential that we add another bird species in there. Maybe do turkeys.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll ever get into pig.
We'll probably also add other plant varieties out there in Field 7 too. So yeah, I mean, the plan is not, it's evergreen. We'll change and adapt accordingly.
Yep.
But this is where we're at in April of 2026.
That's right. That's right.
And when plans change or we have to adapt, well, I mean, that's kind of what the podcast, another reason why we want to do that, so that we can document the process and the journey as things arise and as we progress to the ultimate goals. So
Sounds good.
keep subscribing and watching if you're able to, and we'll keep you guys updated on that journey. And thank you for watching, especially if you've made it this far into the video, and we'll see you guys in the next one.